Hi, everybody. Welcome to Boulton from Boulton, the show where my brother Josh and I set each other up for lively hockey talk and banter. So, Josh, what's happening today?
Just back from the cottage again. I seem to be going there quite a bit. And good to be back home now.
Yeah, good. All right. Well, what we're going to get into here is, we referred last show to the nickname Johnny Hockey and how to get that name. I hear you have a new nickname for him. Is that right? What is that?
Well, first I have another joke for you. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Not Johnny Hockey.
Yeah. Keep them coming every time somebody's eliminated. Guess who's not there?
So, yeah. How about Johnny Golf? How's he doing?
Yeah, it's a zinger.
I mean, what was I was just looking something up right before we started to record, and it's like they made the second round his first season, and then they've won 3 playoff games since. Not just rounds. They didn't qualify for the playoffs once, and then the last couple times they've only won 3 total playoff games. Unless, of course, you count this crapola play-in round as a playoff series, which some people may. The stats probably do, but when you look at actual playoffs, round one, and not just close, not game 7, 4-1, 4-1, 4-2. So, how's Johnny Hockey doing?
I don't know. We made it very clear on this show that those are not playoff games, so we'll go with the real stats. And I don't know why we're sitting here picking on Johnny Hockey too much, but it is, I guess just because the nickname's so grand is what we were saying last time.
Well, everyone says, how could the Oilers fail so much in McDavid in the first 4 years? And they're like, he should want out. And same thing with Matthews. Like, is it time for Toronto to be done with Matthews or vice versa if they can't get support around him and all that? And it's like, first of all, those are both crap. But then why don't we say the same thing about Calgary? Because what have the Flames done around Johnny Hockey?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. So we're not you're not necessarily knocking Johnny Hockey himself, right? But it's like they've got him, and then they can't get it done around him.
It's why does he fly so under the radar all the time?
Yes, right.
But now there are a little bit of rumors swirling around. Maybe he's never going to re-sign with the Flames because they can't seem to do anything with him. But it's almost like about time, and maybe those people have seen this podcast, and maybe that's why they're finally talking about it. But I mean,
very likely.
It's almost like it's not an attacking Johnny Hockey. It's more of a why don't we feel as bad for Johnny Hockey as we do for those other superstars that they can't seem to build a team around instantly.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Instantly, when there's 31 other teams doing it. Trying to do it, right? Like again, but all right. Well, that's good on that. I did have another one to add. Sorry to say, we brought up Johnny Hockey originally in the context of personal goal songs, where I heard they were playing Johnny Be Good afterward. Well, I've got a new song for him. It's Johnny Be Gone from the Bubble. You guys are done. And I'll tell you what though, I picked Calgary in our first round picks. That was one of the ones that I got wrong, and you got very right. It was a 4-2 one. Was that one a 4-2 series?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. And Dallas just did it, and I didn't have that one. So there's another thing before we go on about it. You said something about the schedule you thought was very curious. The scheduling of the first game of round 2. What was that about? Well,
there's someone I noticed put out a tweet saying, for the first time in forever, there's no game scheduled on after all this hockey, there's no game scheduled for a Saturday. And I was thinking, it's interesting how that worked out because, there could be, it's Friday at the time. On Friday morning, there was no game scheduled for Saturday. And then by Friday afternoon, there was game 1 scheduled for Colorado-Dallas on Saturday night. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, how does that make any sense? Because there could be 2 game 7s on Sunday. And I'm thinking, what kind of crap is it to start the second round before the first round? I hate when they do that. And I hate how they even think that's a good idea. How can you start a second round before the first round is even over? It makes no sense to me.
Yes, and then as it turned out for them, it did not happen that way. It was like the first round was over, and then they played on the Saturday. But there could have easily been 2 game 7s on the Sunday.
They could have. That doesn't excuse, just because they got lucky doesn't excuse their stupidity.
No, it doesn't excuse.
While we're on the subject of scheduling, there's one Canadian team left. They're a West Coast team. I know that's their local time, but how about making the rest of Canada able to watch it? That'd be great. 11 o'clock starts, like 11:30. What's this crap?
I thought that when I saw it, I was like, well, you can adjust now. You've only got the 4 games to deal with every time, like 2 games in a day. You can put them whenever you want. You're in a bubble, man. It's not like local this and that. So, yeah, well, they might do better with that. And I didn't know what they were going to do. They had Colorado game, and then now they're lining up the Islanders series with the Colorado series to go every other day. So you got 2 games every other day. But what would they have done? They would have had to wait.
What would they have done if there was game 7s? Would those game 7 people have had to start the next day like Columbus? That did them a lot of favors, didn't it?
Yeah, and that's exactly what I meant. So what would they have done? But anyway, so that is, they lucked out on that one. But I mean, I don't know what they were thinking at the time. I guess you'd have to get some answers from them, but I don't know what they would say. So I'll go on now. The other one that I failed in the first round was the Washington New York Islanders series. You picked the Isles. It was 4-1, killed them. And on that one, find very curious, Todd Reirden afterward made some comments, and he was just saying that, we can do our best, we prepare, that we give the players everything, but at the end of the day, the players have to come and execute, or something to that effect. It was basically they came out and we didn't have just that will and that drive and all that kind of stuff. And people were kind of like, whoa, that's kind of a pretty big comment there. Like, he's basically saying the players didn't step up. And then, Brian Burke came on and he said something like, Todd Reirden's right. The players didn't come. He goes, you do your best to prepare them, but you can't play for them. And he's like, I'm sick and tired of coaches taking the blame for players laying an egg. And I was just like, yeah, I'm pretty fair. I agree with that on some level. At the end of the day, they have to do it. I don't know how you see it. What do you think about coaches and their responsibility for the failure or success of teams?
Well, I have a couple things on coaches, really. I don't think coaches should take the fall as much as they do. I agree with that. And they are the first to get fired usually. And let's not forget, Todd Reirden was a huge part of their 2018 Stanley Cup championship. He was a part of that staff. He was a big part of that staff. Mm-hmm. So he brought a championship to Washington. And the people of Washington can't forget that just because 1 year or 2 years of him being head coach didn't work out so well. It's also, though, that now they're saying, like when you look under the Ovechkin era, Barry Trotz was the only coach he's ever had in his whole career that wasn't a first-time head coach in the NHL. Mm-hmm. For his whole career, he's had rookie coaches. So they're saying we need someone experienced to step up. And in this particular case, maybe because of that history, that's true. But in the NHL overall, stop recycling the same 32 to 35 coaches. There are other coaches out there. Mm-hmm. I wish people say, coaches get fired all the time. Yeah, but the job security of an NHL coach getting rehired is pretty freaking good because they never look outside the box. It's always the same old tired white guy that's just like, hey, I've done hockey forever. I know hockey. Pick me. And there's other people out there that are just chomping at the bit to get in on that action. There's so many players. There's 32 teams now or whatever there's going to be. Let's think outside the box. If you can get Gritty to take off in the NHL as a mascot and that whole thing to work out great, then you can take a chance on an unknown coach and put them in a spot where they're set up to succeed. That would be a lot of fun.
All right. Well, I also, you're talking about, they said they knew an experienced coach, and that is actually what they said after they have in fact fired Todd Reirden, right? So those comments were made just after they got eliminated, but it turns out that they are blaming the coach and saying we need a more experienced coach. And I just found funny when I read that comment, I was almost like, well, the guy on the opposite bench is an experienced coach who might be able to get something out of your players. Why not Barry Trotz? I mean, you just had him. Why did they let that go when it was over? I didn't understand that. And then you look at him, he's taken this team and he's totally giving the Islanders what the Caps needed to win, to beat those Islanders. Oh my God. So yeah, get an experienced coach. Well, I don't know. I don't know what you're.
I don't know what they're going to do because they don't seem to want to pay the experienced coach that they had. That's the thing. They didn't want to pay him the money. I'm bringing you a Stanley Cup, first Stanley Cup in franchise history. I just like to be re-signed for a touch more. That'd be nice. Maybe a little bit of what Mike Babcock got for doing not a whole lot in Toronto. That'd be great.
Yeah, well, I don't know. We'll see what they're going to do with it all. But in any case, Washington blew it, and I blew it picking them. Now, let's see in what ways you blew it. Now, I'm not going to put it like that because, look, I don't think I was wrong to pick Washington or wrong to pick Calgary. Just like you were not wrong to pick Carolina. I was a little nervous about my Boston pick and my Tampa pick a little bit, to be honest, and you picked Columbus as well. So those two are gone. But I will say, in all, it leaves the two of us with our first round prediction picks with a 6-2 record each. So we both had, two that we missed and two we hit. But I will point out and highlight for listeners here that the 4 that we both picked all came through. So I feel like that's a pretty good record for the boys in round 1. I'll take 6-2.
That's pretty good. I'm pretty happy. And I think we can sum up both of our main losses, Carolina for me and Calgary for you, in one period. Because Calgary facing elimination down 3-2. They're up 3-0 within the first 10 minutes. And they lose 7-3? Are you kidding me?
I know. I was like, Game 7's coming. We got it. And
somehow they made me feel bad for Matthew Tkachuk. I didn't think that would ever happen. And he's up in the press box going like, guys, I would never let this happen. And I agree with that. He wouldn't have let that happen that easily.
Well, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, because I was going to change the subject a little bit.
Well, that was part of it. When I had Calgary picked, it was me starting to realize I forgot about how valuable Matthew Tkachuk is, blah, blah, blah. I said in the play-in round. And then that got me turned more on to Calgary and say they're deep, but yet they have that. But without him, it really lost a lot of their strength, their kind of will and their grit, their whole identity. Well, kind of left with Matthew Tkachuk, I thought. So without him, I think I was kind of like, ooh, I'm already a little bit doubtful. But with Dallas looking so strong, but this is not happening. And of course, they couldn't do it. And Rick Bowness, you got to give the credit there. Talking about coaches, he just called that timeout afterward. And he just calmly kind of talked to them and said, it's cool. We're just taking some time here to kind of reset this, to kind of break their momentum. And what Calgary had to do on the bench was sit there and not go, take a breath. They had to be like, how can we maintain? Like they should have been on the bench going, how can we maintain this feeling so we don't feel like it's a new thing when we drop the puck again? Like they were going to waste their time out, and they didn't do it. And of course, it was a fresh game, and Dallas said, slap, slap, slap. And Calgary's out. Dear John.
Yeah. And the one thing I said about Dallas, what I fear is when they go cold, they play the same way, but they just can't seem to score any goals. They're either scoring or they're not scoring. Mm-hmm. And I know that you could say that for a lot of teams, but most teams, when they're not scoring, are like, or when they are scoring, are only scoring like 3 and 4 or whatever, and then they have the odd game. But Dallas seems to be able to pump out those 5-goal plus games all the time, or get shut out to 1 goal. They don't have that sort of. They're not famous for scoring 2 or 3 and winning the hockey game. They're either all in or they're all out. So right now they seem to be all in, and I think that didn't help Calgary a whole lot.
Yeah, nothing helped Calgary in that one. Holy. So I guess we'll call that a wrap up of a pretty good review of round 1. There's probably a lot more some stuff to say about it, and if it occurs to us, we'll bring it up next time. Why don't we move in? You ready to move into round 2?
Oh, yes.
Okay, let's pull our round 2, and it gets a lot easier. There's only 4 series going on, 8 teams left. It is really amazing how quickly this whole thing, 24, and it's like, and then there's this, and now there's 8 teams sitting in this bubble. And I was just watching that new documentary, In the Bubble, where they kind of show off how they're making everything run and life inside. It's like I imagine they're going to make a series. It was episode 1, and I learned quite a bit in there, but I just see them running around changing teams. It's going to get really calm real quick, and in 2 weeks it's going to be really calm for those trainers and all that staff having to accommodate everybody, because kicking more people out. Who's going to get kicked out? Let's talk about it now, Josh. Again, everybody, we have not, a couple of things I'll tell you, we have not discussed this at all. So I have no idea who's Josh is picking, except I have one indication of one because of his video. But I'll assume. Well, you picked the Avs to win the cup. So I'm going to, but I don't know. And the other thing is that while the Colorado-Dallas game 1 is over, we both made these picks and agreed to make our picks before that game started. So it's not going to affect our pick at all. So why don't we start in the East, Josh? I'll go Boston, Tampa Bay. Why don't you go first, and I'll go first on the next one, just to make it a little even. What do you got?
Well, I just want to say before we start that I've changed my entire philosophy, and we'll talk about that reason in the next series we're about to talk about. But I've changed my picks in the second round to not who I think is going to win, but who I want to win. So even whether I believe there's a true shot at it, I've decided to just go with who I'm hoping for, and it will make me enjoy the games a lot more, I think.
Right, so you pick them and you're hoping for them.
We'll talk about that more in a minute, but yes, I've picked them, and it's because I want them to win, and I'll be upset if they don't. So for this first series, I'm picking Tampa Bay over Boston.
All right. Okay, do you want to dive into a little more whether that's I want them to win, or but yet if I were betting, if somebody said you got to put, something on the line and you better pick who's going to win, or is it even worth doing that?
It's more that I kind of want Tampa Bay to beat Boston, and I don't really have anything against Boston. It's not that. It's just I'm just thinking back on Tampa Bay, and they've had a couple of shots at the Eastern Conference Final, and it's one of those teams that haven't had that push. And Boston did well against Carolina, but I was disappointed to see. I wanted to see someone different and have that sort of young and gun, fresh attitude going. And I know Tampa Bay doesn't necessarily represent that, but now if there's going to be two kind of teams that have been around the block a little bit, where one team has already had their shot and then they made the finals last year, they had their chances. And I'm thinking, let's see Tampa Bay go. Let's see them go beyond that. And I want to see them get the cup again.
All right. Well, You've Got a Friend in Me is the song, I guess. And I'm picking Tampa. Look, I'm not it's very tough to choose against Boston. This is almost maybe the toughest series for me to pick, maybe. And they're all very tough now. There's 8 teams left. 8 teams out of 31. Those are the best teams, that are left playing right now. So Boston and Tampa is tough. But I think it is something of that thing where, they were the best team in the league, like in recent history, just recently, and it's still that team, and it's still John Cooper, and their whole thing is going on. And then they just got knocked out in a sweep last year, and it was like, what's going on? It's like they just were shell-shocked, or I don't know what happened to them. But I said they're going to come back this year, and it ain't going to happen again with Columbus. And of course, they just came and laid it down and just it was like that Tampa team that we saw. And I think it is a matter of this one where the team's like one of the top teams for a long time, all the time in the regular season, make it here, totally get knocked out sometime, like Pittsburgh did a few times in Washington, and then they're going to win. But then they haven't cashed in and won yet. Well, no, this is where it happens, perhaps. I know I'm not saying necessarily going to pick them for the cup, but they're going through. This is like, they're the real deal, and they're doing it. So, it's very tough, as I said, to pick against Boston. Come on. They were the best team in the league this year, and Pasta's back in playing. They're looking good, but I'm all over Tampa for this one, picking the Lightning. That's 2 for the Lightning in the first one. By the way, in this series, it's an opportunity to bring up, we're talking about Boston. We had the Mike Milbury, comments about Tuukka Rask, and then he's now fired now from NBC, or is he fired now? Or they said he's on suspended and whatever, and other people are doing the games and we'll see what's going on.
His announcement was he decided to step away. Ironically, since he said women were a distraction, he's decided to step away because of all the attention his comment has grabbed. So you might say he's stepping away so he's not going to be a distraction.
I see. Now, you had some fun stuff to say on Tough Call blog. You had it again last week. I mentioned a very colorful about it on your Tough Call podcast. And also, though, more interestingly, you made a video on your Twitter, on your Tough Call Twitter account, and released a video, and you basically paraphrasing Mike Milbury's comments about there are many reasons people leave in the bubble, and it was very clever, and you were referring to the shoe incident, right? So, go ahead.
That was referring to his comments on Rask and Tuukka Rask's decision to leave the bubble. And he did a quick 40-second spot on that on national television. So I did my own 40-second spot telling him that he's a moron for hitting a man with a shoe, basically. Who does that? Who does that? That's my...
And his comments about Russ were like, people leave the bubble for different like, what was he saying? So the whole thing, I get it, and I think if people want to know more about that and see what you're doing, you should go check out that video. We are going to put a link to it in the show notes. Go down, click on Josh's video, and see him do that, and then you'll have to learn more all about what is this shoe incident and what is Josh talking about. It's quite good. But so do you have anything else you want to add about Mike before we go on?
Well, I guess I'm just surprised. I mean, whether you think this particular comment was offensive or homophobic or misogynistic or whatever the word is or not, whatever word you want to put on it, the man's not good at his job. He doesn't provide good analysis. He has cursed on live on air before. So I don't understand why it took this for him to lose the job when he's so bad at it.
Right. It's like, why has this guy not been fired before or step away before? Anyway.
So many other things, just job related, that are like, there are so many people more qualified than you. But, okay, let's wait till he offends someone and then have to make him go. I don't know. It just seems weird. Like, why was he even still there?
Okay, well, that's good. Well, we'll see what comes in for him, who comes in, and what the show looks like after this without Mike. Yeah, for me, it's a welcome. Whoever comes in is a welcome change. Anyway, I was never a big Mike fan. But so we got Tampa Bay picked. Let's move on. We got the New York Islanders and the Philadelphia Flyers. Now, I picked the Flyers last round. So did you, to beat Montreal. And I picked Washington over New York Islanders. But the Islanders obviously impressed me a lot, taking out my Caps. Not my Caps, but my pick. And I just loving what I'm seeing right now. I've got the Isles. You can hear me leading up to it. I'm picking the Isles. Philadelphia has something going on that looks good this season, but I just, like, out of where and out of what? Like, I don't really believe they're this great, strong team. Like, they came out and they were looking good and then they won in that reseeding and all that. But it's like, really, the Flyers? They're not that team that, like I was talking about, Tampa is here, going here. Then they're going to have their time. They're not having a time. There's no time. Ain't nobody got time for the Flyers. So it's New York Islanders, meanwhile, are looking strong. Like, I really watched that series after you picked them and told me, like, they don't have to fool anybody or whatever you said. It's like, and I was like, oh yeah, they're totally strong. Like, and Barry Trotz has them playing that way. They've done it to the Penguins before. They've done it to Washington. They're the real deal. Like, they're just good. So I don't see any reason why they're not going to take over this Philly team. So I don't know. I got the Isles. What about you?
Well, I'm picking the Isles. I have Philly on my video to go to the Eastern Conference Final. So before the playoffs started, I remember very specifically saying, I'm picking them to win, but I'm going to be irritated watching them win. And it took all of one round for that to happen. By game 4, I was all for Montreal. I said, I know I picked Philly, but I am on the Montreal train. Let's get these idiots out of the playoffs. I can't stand watching them play. And
I wanted to ask you about it. I wanted to ask you about that real quick. I'm leading you to keep telling, but you said it, you had a tweet and you showed me that tweet and it was like, on Tough Call, it was like, I said I was going to be irritated and now I'm more irritated than ever, something like that. And it's like, it was watching this Montreal series and I was like, what happened what irritated you particularly in the Montreal thing? I want to know.
They're just so slimy and cheap. Like, they can't just play hockey. Why can't you just beat a team and go away quietly? Why do you have to beat them and then spit on them and then cross-check them in the face and do those things? You don't need to do that to win. You're already winning. Why? Like, I was all of a sudden all for Montreal and go get these Flyers out of the playoffs. I don't want to watch this kind of buffoonery anymore.
So was it during the game though? I thought it was like in the middle of the game that you started turning and going, oh my God, I want them to win so bad, right? So what were they doing? Like, how they weren't spitting them after they won? Like, what are you talking about?
It's not about win. It's about anything. Like, you're supposed to be winning the series. Act like you've been there before a little bit. You know, that's all I'm saying. So they're going in and they score a goal, and it's like, oh, we scored a goal. Now, instead of just playing our game and trying to score another goal, we'll just go spear someone or hit them from behind. That's a great idea. You know? Okay. So all of a sudden you're giving them fire and you're just like, if I'm watching, I want to beat them now. So hopefully Montreal does or someone does.
Yeah,
So
they just didn't. They were probably motivated, but they just didn't have enough Gallaghers out there. They just really didn't have enough to like, however much fire they had and bite and anger. They just too much for them. But I thought it might have been when you said you're irritated. I was looking and I thought maybe it's because they're just like getting outshot so badly and still winning, and just that's so irritating and whatever. But it wasn't. It was just they were being greasy. Is it?
They were outplayed for 4 of those 5 games or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. I would say they were outplayed for the majority of that series. Montreal just had a little bit of a difficult time scoring enough goals. Mm-hmm. And they weren't able to just focus on hockey. It drives me crazy that these young stars, like, Kakaniemi and Lehkonen and these guys, they have to deal with all the crap.
Yeah, Suzuki patting his head at the end or whatever.
When Montreal scored the empty net goal and Couture went drilled Lehkonen at center ice, mm-hmm. Like, who does that?
Okay, well, the Flyers do. So
the Flyers do, exactly. The Flyers do.
Okay,
why did they do it?
I'll say now we got the New York Islanders, and I think they've got a couple like a Barzell or something. Is not this guy who's going to come back on that, but they do have a solid 4-line, deep, tough team. We'll see what Matt Martin and Clutterbuck have to say about the Flyers if they're going to be trying to pull any of that stuff. I just don't see it happening, and the Flyers are just going to be that consistent thing. The Islanders, are going to be that consistent thing that is too much for the Flyers to beat 4 times. So I'm going with the Isles as well, like I said. So in the East, we're both taking the same teams, Tampa and the Isles, and I do want them both to win in a way, I would say too. Although I like Boston. There's nothing, but not a big Flyers fan. Go to the West then. Colorado, Dallas. You want to go first on this one?
Well,
it's according to your video?
It's still Colorado that I want to win 100%. I believe that they can win, but I was kind of thinking Dallas might go a little cold by now. I thought it might have been a little more of a struggle against Calgary, and they'd be a little bit worn down and that, but they just seem to be rolling. And this Heiskanen, he is amazing, and he's part of the reason I picked them to start doing well. But now I just need him to settle down a hair. Like,
take it easy.
Time to back off and let Nate do his thing. Okay,
yeah.
But it's going to be a great series.
Yeah, big time. Well, you did see Nate do his thing in the first game. He scored those 2 goals, and I think he got an assist as well. Out of the 3 goals, they lost 5-3. You see him wheel out of the thing. He wheels around. He picks up that pass, and all of a sudden he goes, wheels around the top of the slot and just fires it opposite way, and you just go, whoa. That is Nate MacKinnon. That's what's going on. So I'm also taking Colorado. It's what I want. I've got them pretty much on a path to get to the cup, close to it. So, but I'll have to see as round by round what's going on, how I feel. But Colorado, man, they're a juggernaut, and I don't see Dallas stopping them at this point. Dallas look good, but I can't see it. Now you do have Grubauer got hurt now. Is that a big thing? But it sounds like they're very comfortable with their second goalie, and they didn't just become the top team in the West or one of the top teams in the West because they have a good goalie. Like it's part of it, but they're just a team that's strong, deep. I'm totally on Colorado, and it looks like we're at 3 for 3 same picks, which is why not? Well, let's see if we go 4 for 4 then. Vancouver, Vegas. I'm kind of guessing something. You said who I want to win. Who do you want to win? And who are you picking?
Okay.
Or am I supposed to go first? You go.
I can go first. Who I want to win. And that's who I am picking for this. Is Vancouver Canucks. That is who I want to win. They are doing it right. They are fun to watch. It has been a fun ride. And the West is so challenging. But see, Vegas, the one thing I am amazed about Vegas is, they're a tough team. They can play physically. But what I can't believe whenever I watch a Vegas game more than any other team in the league is consistently like I'm on fast forward. Like they are so fast. They are so fast. The pace of the game is ridiculous when they play. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the other team's strategies, I think, would be to try and physically wear them down so they can't do that. Whereas I feel like Vancouver has a real shot at matching them speed for speed. Mm-hmm. So I think that's going to be like it's going to be very fun to watch that way. Now, whether one team tries to start being a little more physical or not, it might add a certain fun element to it. But I think the pace of these games are going to be extremely challenging. And I think of all the teams, like I said, left, Vancouver is probably the most up for that particular challenge.
Okay, so he's got the Vancouver Canucks. Well, all right. Well, I'm sorry to say, but I'm going to have to agree with you on this one as well. We've got 4 for 4. I don't know where I'm taking the Canucks. I've got the Canucks, and this one was tough. They're all tough. I really went back and forth. Maybe Colorado, Dallas. I was pretty quick on. I'm taking Colorado just because I want them, and I just don't see anything happening yet to them. But the other ones, I really had to go back and forth and go, do I really want to pick that? Like, even though I don't like Philly much, do I really want to not bet on the Flyers in this? Are you kidding me? Like, what do I think? Like, no. This one too, I had to go. I mean, Vegas, come on! You just said all like how fast they were, but just like they're the playoff type team. They got it from a lot of places that can hurt you. Their goaltending is obviously huge right now. I mean, Leonard was a Vezina finalist last year. He's taken the number 1 job, but I saw Marc-Andre in that 2-1 game, and I was like, holy, how is he not playing the next one? Or if they're alternating, it's just going to be 1 for 1 because they're just magic. Like Marc-Andre is ready and playing well. So goaltending magic. Vegas looked good, but Vancouver has come on and just been so good game after game. And I'm almost like, I picked Vancouver last round. I'm like, dude, are they really going to win? And I'm like, and then they just go and look so strong everywhere all the time. And Markstrom's playing well. So like their goalie actually looks like a real strong number 1 confident guy, not just like, oh, they got a pretty good goalie. He's like right up there with all the goalies right now. So, and he's big on top, right? So it's just, they just have the security, the extra security at the back there. I think Vancouver is looking good. And of course, I want them to win. They are the only Canadian team left. And I've always been sympathetic to Vancouver. They're one of my more favorite Canadian teams always. So I got all that for all those kind of reasons. I'm just feeling it like I did last round. Vancouver. Sorry, Vegas. I mean, I picked you last round because I know what you are, but this is going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tight one. May probably go 7. But Vancouver's got it. And
again, NHL schedulers, you're hearing us. We're all jumping on Vancouver here. So I don't know how. Not only should you play Vancouver's games a little earlier so that most of the country can watch it, you also have hockey fans that went months without any hockey, and then you're throwing 1:00 games at them and having hockey for 12 hours straight. So at least give us a 4:00 Boulton. Ease us into the 9:00 time slots. Don't go from 1:00 for 2 weeks or 3 weeks to nothing till 9 and 11:30. Give us the 4:00 Boulton sometimes.
You're toying with Josh. Yeah, I don't get all caught in the schedule stuff because all mine are watched just on demand. Basically, I'm basically an on-demand guy because I'm just opposite times and I've got stuff to do in the mornings and stuff. So I'm off Facebook. I'm not looking at stuff to see what the results but I can see for people living in Canada, you guys are watching on your local broadcast for the most part. And it's like, come on, like, who cares here, right? Take care of people. But I hear you, feel your pain. I hope they can hear you. I wanted to mention something about this as we're on the Vegas and Vancouver series. We had the Fleury thing with this tweet. His agent put out a tweet with the coach. Was it McPherson? What's his name? Oh my God.
Who cares?
Once again, here we are. Yeah, who cares?
It's Peter DeBoer.
Oh, he's DeBoer, right. I was thinking of another article with another coach. Okay, DeBoer. And DeBoer's like stabbing him in the gut or something, right? Or he's backstabbed, which I don't know why he's in the gut. But anyway, so...
No, it's through the back. And it comes out the gut.
Well, then it is a backstab. So yeah. I haven't seen the tweet. I just heard about it. See, good thing we got 2 of us.
Accurate. Whether it's stupid or not, it's fairly accurate.
Yeah, okay. And then Marc-Andre, of course, came out and said, he asked his agent to take it down because he doesn't want to be a distraction to his team. And then he made a couple statements about it. Just anything you want to say on that issue?
Well, I mean, it's not like Marc-Andre Fleury hasn't been in the musical chairs goaltending situation in the playoffs before. And I don't remember anyone wanting to stab Mike Sullivan in the back. Like, Fleury's just the ultimate teammate. I mean, you should want your client to do well, and it seems like as long as he's okay with things right now, you deal with that in the off season. You don't do that to a team when they're in the middle of a run. Although maybe it might help my pick for Vancouver. Maybe a distraction there, but like, just don't do that while the games are going on. I just thought it was really bad timing and really not a tasteful way to do it either. Like, it was there's nothing right about it.
I didn't feel anything right about it. I wonder, you can only speculate, so it wouldn't, but it's just, that's what we're just having fun here talking as if like we're hanging out, which is what our show is all about. So I will say, I was wondering, is he having some beers at night or something, and then he's got it set up and he makes this thing and then he's like, should I send it? No. And then they just kind of go, yeah, and then go off. Like, it's like, instead of like thinking about it more. But I think Marc-Andre is right to just ask him to take it down and then address it with his teammates and with everybody, with the press, so that he can put it away and then we're distracted right now about it, and then let's put it to bed, and now it will not be a distraction. And then he is just going to be his Marc-Andre teammate. One thing I am glad, it doesn't seem that he's gone and canceled his coach and gone out and been like, I got to like disown him. And he said, this guy's he loves his players. He's protecting them. And he thinks he's doing that for me, but I didn't find this very appropriate. And I told him so, and he took it down. So he's hearing me, and that's it. And that's real. And I feel like I like that it's there, because it was just a bad taste, bad idea. But I don't think it's like, oh my God, I got to distance myself from this guy. And the mob hasn't come out and made him, totally disown the guy.
And, it couldn't have been a better response from Marc-Andre Fleury. You're right. That was like very good. But the more I think about it right now, I haven't really thought about it much, but right now I'm thinking, okay, yeah, instead of canceling the guy, like you said, it's a really good point. No one's jumped all over his throat, and Fleury did a great job of reeling that in. But maybe we should go the other way and give this guy some help. Like, because it's kind of like, it reminds me now a little bit of the Ray Finkel's mom in Ace Ventura. Ace is out! That Dan Marino! Is Peter DeBoer in trouble? Is someone going to go after him here? Like, maybe we should be reaching out to this agent and see if he's just okay. Maybe he just needs some help.
I hope he's okay. I do hope he's all right, because it is a little bit much. I mean, it is a little bit much to do that. You could make a comment and say, look, Peter DeBoer's kind of stabbed him in the back, but just to make that whole tweet like that with this graphic image, I don't know if you need to go that far. And of course, it was too far, is what we're saying as our point, but I never thought that he might be unhinged or something. Like Ray Finkel's mom, he ain't coming home. She thinks he's coming home. Anyway, too much fun. And for any young people out here watching Ace Ventura, come on, like, pretty dumb movie, but really well played by Jim Carrey, and just so much fun for people of our generation. Ace Ventura. It couldn't have worked with anybody else, that movie. Right? But he made it something. It is something. So I guess that's what we have then, Josh. We've all picked the same 4 teams to go through into the final 4. So I want to hear what you guys have to say about it. Get in the comments section. Put yourself out there. We put ourselves out there, and in this case, you don't have to jump on a team. You get to counter both of us and just sick in our faces and say, "You guys don't know what you're talking about. Boston's going to win." Get in the comment section and put your money where your mouth is, and we'd love to see people comment back and forth on it. That'll be a lot of fun for us and a lot of fun for you. It's way more fun if you make a pick. Do it publicly. Let's go for it. In the meantime, we've got Boston and Tampa are playing now, Vegas and Vancouver later in the day. Go out and see what happens, guys. Enjoy all those games, and we'll see you next time. All right.
Do you know how many times you've checked your hair or done something to your hair since you've been talking to me?
Yes, I know a lot. But I'll tell you, what have you got?
I was home from the cottage. What the hell was that?
You got some mosquitoes happening there? Well, all right.
I had to rescue a raccoon from the composter again.
Well, that's a little fun. I'm showing a lot of my Korean students these videos and pictures of raccoons in your combos and stuff, and they're like, "Oh my God, this," so it's pretty fun, just freaking them out like that.